I guess a topic of interest is WCW, and I mean, you were there a while, but unfortunately you got injured by Goldberg. I guess, did you know what your character direction in WCW was going to be had you not got injured by Goldberg? Do you know what direction they were going to take you in?
I don't know. I think I was probably expected to be a villain for the next year or two. It's hard to say what would have happened. Vince Russo was, the pencil back then, so it's hard to say what could have happened. He was kind of like Eric Bischoff, liked to throw a lot of swerves into the storylines, and throw so many swerves into that no one can follow it.
A lot's been said about Eric Bischoff as a person and as a businessman. How did you get on with him?
I always got along really good with Eric. I always liked him, but as a businessman, he never knew anything about wrestling. He never had a clue. He wouldn't know a good idea or a bad idea. Generally speaking, his knowledge about wrestling was zilch. And I never thought he had a clue in his brain about what wrestling was.
Okay, now I guess we got to get onto your character. I was always mesmerized by your character. What kind of influences did you have as a professional wrestler in terms of your character, maybe your promos?
Well, who influenced me in my promos as a character?
Yeah.
Well, probably everybody. I mean, when I first started doing promos in the WWE, I was not a very good promo guy. I'd come from Calgary, where it just wasn't my strongest asset. But at the same time, I understood that you had to get better and better and better. So I think I always try to watch guys like Piper and even Hogan, and they were some of the best mic guys that ever came along in the business. And then you look at all the other guys. The rest of us were just trying to keep up with guys like Piper and Hogan, and even Jake the Snake, and some of those guys were great promo guys. So even Macho Man was a great promo, and you just watched everyone else, and you just, with the Hart Foundation, you just sort of form your character back then with just little things, and sometimes it just takes time to sort of evolve and mature too. I think you as you get older, you get more shy or less shy of speaking in front of the camera, and I think you just get better and better.
I think in terms of wrestlers, I mean, I interviewed Jake the Snake Roberts about a week ago, and we were talking about influences and kind of how you get these ideas to kind of build your character, and a lot of it was kind of like movies and books and music and things like that. Did you kind of do that and look at these kind of things and then kind of shape it and put it into your character?
Sometimes, some things, like even my tagline, "The best there is, the best there was, and the best there ever will be," was a tagline from the movie The Natural. So, you do pick up little things here and there, and you might get a line from a song, or just something somewhere, that you can just use as just blurt it out somewhere in your interview. Music was always a big, there's lots of little things you can get from songs on the radio and, themes and stuff like that.
Has there ever been an instance where you've not been happy with the way that you might have been perceived on television?
Oh, yeah, maybe lots of times. I think, there's a few that are flawless on TV, but, I'm pretty happy with most of my wrestling matches on TV. I think lots of times when I wrestled, there's very few examples of matches where I messed up, or examples where I didn't carry well. But I think sometimes with promos and some of those kind of things, I wish I could do them. I could have done some of them over again. But generally speaking, I have no regrets, and as far as that goes, I think whatever I did, it seemed to work. I never thought I did a bad job either way.
Another topic that I wanted to talk about was the character that Brian Pillman portrayed. He started this character in WCW as the Loose Cannon, and a lot of wrestlers kind of thought that it was real. What was your take on it?
Well, I knew Brian was a different man, way before. I knew before he got into business and when he first started. And to me, he was just always a friend of the guy that was kind of a little brother. So I never saw him as a Loose Cannon. I saw that as mostly a role on TV. But I also know that he started living a little harder, and that life got harder for him with his addiction sort of there was reasons for Brian's. He got addicted to painkillers when he had a bad accident. It was the only way for him to keep going, and unfortunately, that was the death of him.
Now, something I kind of read from your book, the ECW appearance that you did, and you wrestled Terry Funk in his retirement match. I guess it was quite unique because I think it's one of the first times that an active WWE wrestler, and then namely the champion, has gone over to a small company like ECW and wrestled one of their top stars. What are your memories of that?
Well, it just gives you an idea of, it's a special favor with Terry Funk. And I asked WWF if they'd let me do it, and they, out of respect for Terry, said that I could do it. And Terry was quite obliging. He was happy to, they did everything they could do to give everyone a great match that day.
Another match I've got to talk about is it's one of my favourites, is the match with Owen Hart at SummerSlam. But what really annoyed me about that was there was the kind of, I guess, what your feelings on the emphasis that they kept sort of building up Liam Neeson's appearance and the Taker versus Taker storyline as opposed to the championship match.
Yeah, well, in fairness to Undertaker at the time, I think they were they'd thrown him so many lemons as far as opponents went, and I think they were trying, I'm not sure who he was wrestling that day. Wasn't he wrestling the other Undertaker or something like that?
Yeah, Brian Lee, I think it was.
I think they had thrown him another lemon, and it was just hard for him to always wrestle with sort of less than stellar opponent all the time. And I think they were trying to, in some ways, make it up to him, and it was that's just what happened.
Was it easy, I guess, training for professional wrestling to go from amateur to professional?
Oh yeah, they're two totally different things. You will go from one where you're trying to lean up and cut weight and trim down all the time, and the other one you go to trying to gain as much weight as you can and drinking beer and eating meat and trying to do everything you can to carb out and get as big as you can. And the whole psychology of pro wrestling comes from amateur wrestling, and it's great to have a knowledge of both when you do either or both, like I did. But there's no similarity between the real thing and pro wrestling.
Who were you trained by?
I was trained by two Japanese wrestlers.
Oh, okay. I guess did your dad help out in your training, or?
My father was a big influence on me growing up, but he had mostly to do with teaching me a lot of amateur wrestling and teaching me submission wrestling, which had nothing to do with what I'd learned in pro wrestling, other than the occasional pro wrestling move can come out of some of the shoot holds that my dad taught me.
Okay, I got to ask you this because I was at a Q&A with the Iron Sheik a couple of years ago, and he claims that he helped train you. Is there any truth to that?
Yeah, there is. It's true.
Oh, brilliant.
Yeah, he started from my father, and when he first started in wrestling, he got his start up in Calgary, and I was about 16 or 15 or 16 then, training for the City Wrestling Championships. And he trained me for several weeks, doing exercises and calisthenics around the house and teaching me different shoot moves, and helped me quite a bit to win the city championships that year.
There's been a lot said about the Iron Sheik. Have you got any great Sheik stories for us?
Well, I just remember stories like him and Jim Neidhart and myself. We used to be pretty good friends. We'd hang out a lot of times, and I can remember Sheik sometimes like to go around to the hospitals and visit some of the Muslim elderly and stuff like that. And Jim Neidhart would always go, and it was always a lot of fun when the two of them would make a lot of noise at the hospitals when they weren't supposed to. Stuff like that.
Who did you feel you had the best in-ring chemistry with?
I've been asked this before, but I don't know of anybody that was ever better than Kurt Hennig. He was probably the best.